What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again once more. And as usual, I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you as we are headed to this fine here Saturday, they call it, right? And of course, I want us, to talk about some stuff, right? As we usually do in these here videos, right? So let's get to it. So this is called the Oriental wasp, right? It's not only Oriental because it's also found in Africa. Well, the interesting thing about this insect here is that yellow band over there can convert plasma, that is sun, the energy from the sun, into electricity, right? And I'm telling you for a reason, right? As usual, I usually leave nuggets in all of these here videos for future references, in fact, right? And as far as try to look around, they don't really know what they use this electricity for, right? And their cousin, the bees, they use frequencies to generate heat. I once saw a device that can do such a thing, right? Heat up water using frequencies in a very short time, right? Very short time, right? Using the right frequencies, you can heat up water, right? These are clues, right? All I'm saying to you is that nature is the greatest teacher, right? Technology is basically limitless, just like the potential for creation, right? And we can study and learn, right? For instance, Superman. This is where Superman, the whole idea of Superman, it is angelic, of course. As usual, we're going to talk about angels more and more, right? Because it's an important topic that has been ignored for a long time. And I think I'm in a better position to talk about it, right? So Superman, right? Superman, he is energized by the sun, right? He's able to turn plasma into energy, right? Skipping the whole process of digestion, so to speak, right? So he gets a current straight, right? A straight current. Melanin can also do this, right? But it does it for other reasons, right? But again, the best teacher we have is our Creator. So you might be asking yourself, what is this about? Easy, right? Well, you can read for yourself, right? These individuals here are on a literal, like, high-speed train, right? To get, I don't know, to sign off their fate to the same with the beast system, right? And who is in the midst of this whole situation? We have this war criminal here, Tony Blair, right? The same character who was mentioned in Gaza. He is their handler, apparently. Well, this is a rebuke that I think I'm gonna make a whole separate video by itself, right? By itself. And it comes from seeing and observing and listening to the rhetoric that has been propagated across the internet, right? So again, this is just a simple rebuke. Talking about rebukes, remember what I told you in the last video, right? That these people know where the Israelites are and they're trying to get their seed. Get the seed. And the best seed they could have is royalty. That's what they're up to, and they're distracting everybody else. Right? Let me show you. Right? So there's this group, right, of the Israelites that have come to the awakening here in Tanzania. Right? This is from Tanzania. And of course, as you can read for yourself, we can do it together, right? In recent times, certain members of the representative associated with the 1948 community have reached out to individual sub-Saharan Israelites and to this movement as a whole. Their approach, though outwardly friendly, has carried a familiar tone, one aimed at admitting a few among us while leaving the rest outside the gate. You understand? That's important. That's just the first page. And they say, from what they saw, is that it carried a familiar tone, right? It carried a familiar tone, right? That's why these people are catching smoke from the Pan-Africanists. Again, I don't want to divert, but I'm going to come back to that, right? We have seen videos out there, right? Go Black to Africa. I think you know that channel. He did a visit in Nigeria, right, to the tribe of Levi, right? So they identify themselves as so, right? And of course, they themselves admit openly, right, that they have been approached and they are in communication. Okay, they are in communication, right? I don't know what that means, but that's just me telling you what it is, right? You can look up the videos for yourself, right? They were uploaded quite a while before he fell sick and disappeared off YouTube a little while. You can go look it up for yourself. They have whole kings and everything. Let's proceed. This strategy is not new. It has been used before to divide tribes, to classify a few authentic coverts, like how they did to the Beta Israel, Lemba Jews, Igbo Jews, and the Jewish communities in Africa, to recognize them individually so as to silence the greater truth that the true house of Israel was never lost but scattered and hidden within all the vast families of Africa. Therefore, we issue this statement openly and without apology. We, the sub-Saharan Israelites, reject any invitation, admission, or recognition, most importantly, right? All of the four mentioned groups, they wanted recognition. That's the problem. They wanted recognition, just like the so-called Abraham Accords. What do you think that's about? That is to get the Muslims or the Arabs to share their guilt. To share their guilt. That's why they brought up the so-called Abraham Accords. Okay? We, the sub-Saharan Israelites, reject any invitation, admission, or recognition that comes with the price of division or compromise of truth. And that's exactly what they want. Okay, there's a reason they are targeting and they are using Black Americans. I used this example once. I used the movie Wakanda. That's literally their agenda. okay? They are gonna force you to appoint your own prince in opposition to the true prince who is in Tanzania, Africa. Plain and simple. I usually do it that way, right? So as we get everything out of the way. Okay, but that's what is happening, and I see that coming. And if you don't, then you're up for a rude awakening. Let me just tell you that, right? While all of these ISUI or whatever club with the purple and gold, right? You know that famous Israelite club, which was stoned in Kenya when they came preaching about it, right? They had no permission. They had no permission to deliver that truth. And of course, they were rejected. Why? Because in reality, they had an agenda, right? You might not know that you are under some sort of agenda, but I'm telling you this. Babylon has rubbed on you the wrong way. It has corrupted your movement, right? And the most of you who are safe are mostly individuals, families, not a whole group of people. No, that always gets infiltrated because there's a leadership crisis. So who fills that vacuum? The enemy, right? That's why these beta Israelites, right, from Ethiopia and all of these, right, they are actually travel over there and be recognized, right? And what happened after they reached over there? Their women were sterilized. Why? Because they were looking for a very specific seed. The royalty. They were looking for the prince. Okay, that is why they did what they did. Just like Herod. Do you remember that? It's the same playbook over and over, over and over. From Abraham to Moses. It's the enemy fighting back. And this time, the most efficient weapon is the one with a melanated skin. Because as per the Israelites, they'll get accepted automatically. But again, it's not about the color of your skin or anything of sort, right? It is about truth. And that's what I'm interested in. Okay? This is about truth, not feelings or a made-up history of that, right? This is about truth, right? Let's proceed. We are not petitioning for the inclusion into the 1948 establishment. In fact, we believe that the 1948 aren't descendants of our forefathers, Jacob, right? But they are the force revealed in Revelation 3:9-9. Hence, we are never going to seek for the acknowledgement. I am never going to look for the acknowledgement from Rome or anything. No. You either accept or you don't. Plain and simple. And there are consequences for both decisions. That's just the reality that we're living in right now. Okay. We are the living descendants of Jacob, the children of the covenant, preserved through exile, struggle, and faith, and the ones prophesied in 2 Ezra 13:40-46, and Zephaniah 3:10, to be in the sub-Saharan Al-Sareth until the day of our King, Messiah, comes. Right? The attempt to select and admit a few tribes while leaving others behind is a continuation of the old tactics of divide and rule, the same method used to fracture the unity of the true covenant people. But this generation has awakened, and we will not allow history to repeat itself. And we will warn all the tribes of Africa, we have associated themselves with those to repent immediately and disassociate themselves before it's too late. Why is it important to disassociate yourself? It's plain and simple. You just have to read Revelation. If you are in bed with the whore, whatever will happen to the whore will come to you. Okay? It is plain and simple. Look at 2019. Those who followed and went to bed with the whore, look at them now. Their economies are in shambles. They are never recovered. I don't know, they had a plan. Okay? And of course, those who didn't go along suffered the consequences also, right? Here in Tanzania being one of them. No lockdowns, no mandates for vaccines. Big problem, right? For the synagogue of Satan. Because they were the ones behind that whole situation, that whole debacle. It's gonna come out. It has already come out. I done showed you the video here, right? You remember that guy who was talking in a government meeting type setting, right? And he was just going on and on, just mentioning people after people after people after people who were on boards of Pfizer and all of Moderna. Just on and on and on and on and on, and all of them had of one faith, right? One faith. Okay? And the reason they chose the word Jew, because it is close to Judah. They can come out and say straight up, we are Judah, but they are indirectly saying that they are Judah. Why? Because Judah provides royalty, but they do not have royalty. So they have a placeholder while they are looking for the blood, right? Thrifting, right? Thrifting through Africa, everywhere, making deals and agreements and waiting. Yeah, just like a lion in the bushes, in the savanna grass, just basically invisible but visible. It depends on where you're looking from. Right? So it is a true phenomenon, right? Selassie fell. They were deceived, right? They were deceived, and Selassie deceived them. And the deception is still going on up to now, right? Are we done here? Yeah, we're done here. Let's proceed. Let it be known to all who hear. The Ezekiel 37 awakening of the sub-Saharan Israelites cannot be negotiated, bought, or diluted. We walk in the authority of the promise made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we stand as one family across all tribes and tongues of the sub-Saharan Africa. We respect all people, but we will not, right? We respect all peoples, but we will not submit our identity to a man-made definition. Our heritage was sealed by the Most High, not by the 1948 state or its institutions. This statement is issued to bring clarity to all nations. We are not seeking to join any man, but to stand in the truth of the God of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, in that order, right? The same promise, the same covenant. Right? So I don't know who these people think they are at this particular moment. We are not seeking validation, but to bear witness of our lineage and our King, Yeshua. We are not returning to something new. We are remembering what was ancient and eternal, our inheritance. The covenant remains with the true seed exiled in the land of Sub-Sahara, right? Zephaniah 3:10, 2nd Ezra, he repeats that, right? And other slave diaspora brothers known as Black Americans, and all of those scattered in all four corners of the earth, as per Isaiah 11:12. And as the world watches, the truth will continue to rise. tribe by tribe, nation by nation, until the full house of Israel stands restored. We are the sub-Saharan Israelites. We do not seek acceptance. We stand in the awakening of the truth of the God of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, in that order. Some may prefer God to say Jacobi, right? That's a colonized name, right? And the king of our nation, right? So this is their statement in response to, of course, the people who were established in 1947, right? They made it their mission, right? I don't know, whatever of return. You know that? The law of return or something like that. It was a scam, a meticulously planned scam. And of course, they had to get the Christians involved, right? Widen the net, so to speak, right? Catch more fish like that, right? And of course, they have been lying low, waiting, playing dumb, deceiving everybody, right? And convincing everybody that whole thing was settled. It is in the past, and all we have to do now is, I don't know, leave our evil ways and have positive reverberations toward the people in the Middle East over there. Now we have to support them with money and stuff, right? They have entire movements and lobbies and the whole nine, basically. They were looking for a unrefutable right of rulership, and that's the only way they could get it, is if they have the royal bloodline, right? And for over the years, I've covered what they have been doing sneakily, right? You can look it up in the internet yourself. Right? They talk a long time ago, they were talking about the shroud. You remember the shroud? Right now, with modern technology, we should have a different perspective on what the shroud is and what it really means for people who call themselves Christians, right? For the sake of communication, right? Christians. Because now they can take that DNA and reanimate it, because they say there's DNA over there. So they leave information up in the sky because they know people are eventually gonna reach that level. Right? And of course, they have to make movies and stuff, right? The Da Vinci Code, you remember that? Do you know what that was about? Talking about the Louvre, right? There is a connection. That's why when I showed those jurors yesterday, I told them don't do it, because they tell you what they want to do. They always do. Right? They always do. And the Da Vinci Code is them telling you exactly what they're up to. Right? These Knight Templars, right? Yeah, they say they're looking for the Grail. What did the Grail hold? Wine. What did the wine represent in the Last Supper? It represented blood. So they are looking for a bloodline, for a very specific beginning of a bloodline. That's how much trouble sometimes I'm in, right? The Templars left it to the Nazis, right, who were going around historical sites and looking and extracting. This was their biggest, one of their plans, right? Collecting history and stuff, right? That was part of their whole situation, what they were planning in secret, right? So when they tell you they're looking for the Grail, they're telling you they're looking for a person, right? Because blood does not just exist in thin air. It has to be inside a person. And now they have found it. And like I said a long time ago in that video, I said now it's much more dangerous. back then they could be cautious, right? They do not want to do what they have not planned, right, to the prince accidentally, right? So they created Hollywood to recruit, right, to thrift, right? It's a thrifting mechanism, right? Because they knew for a fact if David was coming back, there would definitely be a talented person, maybe do sports, maybe do politics, maybe the army, you know? All of these things were in the back of their mind. Okay? All of these things were in the back of their minds. They were planning. It's a web. Okay? It's a web. And I don't know what that means for instance, Tanzania right now is literally in their crosshair, right? I showed you the other video yesterday, right? The Che Guevara looking type nigga, right? This is what they're up to, right? And of course, right, these people are part of the flock, right? Just like many other people, right? The gates are open, literally. It's not an exclusive club with special privileges, no. Okay? So they want to make it a special club because it acts like a funnel. It acts like a funnel. And bloodline and blood is a big deal to them, right? They literally commit incest to protect that bloodline. So the Grail is in Tanzania. What does that mean for Tanzania? Yeah, I don't know, right? I don't know. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, right? Again, it's a decision of the Israelites. What do they wanna do, right? I'm beholden to them. Michael, servant. Powerful, but still servant. If there was ever a rule, a heavenly rule, is that the strongest serve. The strongest serve. Esau did not get the memo, right? Angels indeed are greater than humans. That's why they serve them. Yeah. Just like adults serve the needs of the children. And when Esau was told to serve Jacob, stand by Jacob, he backslid under the pressure of his sons. You can read the whole 9. Right? And the feud has not stopped. Right? I'm always direct, and I do not sugarcoat stuff. Right? That's not my style. Right? I become cryptic if I have to be cryptic. Right? But again, this is what this feud is about. So yeah, we are in trouble, right? We are in trouble. I'll show you another story pertaining to this same matter, right? But again, this is the refutation, right? Refutation of the reality, right? But of course, I don't think even this movement here in Tanzania has come to the full realization of how prophecy is supposed to unfold, right? I'm not sure, right? Some of you are now catching up to the great Prince Michael will arise, huh? Like seriously. You know, when somebody asks me, have you read the whole Bible? And I'll tell them, no, comfortably. But there are those who say they have. And as far as I've read the Bible, it's a chain. It's a chain of events. It's a chain of events. And just like a chain, the rings keep repeating themselves. The links keep repeating themselves as they form. As you go through the books, you find out like, yo, it's talking about the same thing repeating itself over and over and over. Right? So let's move on. right? I just had to share that with you. Now, look at that. They are manifesting interstellar tunnels. I mean, Sky News Australia has to be like my go-to media when I want to look at how far people have become animalistic, like literally. You know, here they are. You know, they think they are deceiving the whole world. You know, the Christians included. Right? They are deceiving themselves and the world. You know, but me personally, I know what you want. You have been telling me what you want, not so subtly. And I have to admit, yeah, we are connected at one level when it comes to the sons of Abraham. We are brothers, but no, I cannot trust you. That's the problem. I cannot trust you. You keep up this lie, right? You keep up this lie that's not even at the top of it, right? You have tried to actively take me out, and if that failed, you would take, I don't know, eliminating my capacity to reproduce. Do you think I don't notice such assaults? Particles moving in my tubes and stuff, energy weapons directed that way. I notice such things, and I'm not an idiot, and I'm not so vulnerable as I look. But those are lessons for other times. Okay? Right? I don't know. Well, these people might have thought that I was here to, I don't know, to come and take everything and, I don't know, deny everybody and, I don't know, leave them to die. Can I do that? I don't have it in me. Never have. It's just me, you know. But for the record, all I've gotten from you are attempted murder. That's what I have from you. Right? Just kidnappy, murdery vibes reverberating from Trump and Netanyahu. Right? Right? You just keep up, you know. They are pumping the rhetoric, you know. It's like the Europeans, you know. They are hell bent on burning the world. Why is that? Yeah? This media here is literally instigating a fight. Right? He's grouping all of the Democrats, regardless of those who even agree with whatever is going on, regardless of the matter. This polarization is dangerous. And it's gonna backfire in a very spectacular way. But since you have made yourself my enemies, hell, I'll be glad. I don't have to look over my shoulder again. Right? Hey, look at that, right? We are talking more power when it comes to processing and less power consumption. Yeah, so I do believe that it can produce 1,000-fold, especially when it is hybridized. I've seen such a chip, right? Hybrid of digital and analog, right? So the programming is literally split into two. Those functions that can work under an analog, they are channeled to the analog. And those which are digital, then when the process is faster in digital, then they are digitized. Right? We don't need to be stuck. Right? It's crazy. But again, congratulations. Well, I know the truth. Right? So I'm not going to say this. I'm going to hold you to it. Okay? I'm going to hold you to it. Even this, I'm going to hold you to it. Right? But I know you're a liar. You two, you're snakes. Yeah. Talking about the speech that Trump gave about the beautiful snake on the side of the road, that one thought it was a good idea to take him home until she was bit. So we are going to take the word of the President of the United States that they are not going to annex the remaining land, okay? And there are no B-1 bombers near Venezuela, okay? Now, how many sanctions are there, right? I've heard more than 500, apparently. Just packages on top of packages. 2 words. This is where real niggas be found, right? What do I mean when I say that? Here's where true friendships are formed. So it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. Like, look at what has become of the East, Look at, making it stronger and stronger, What do they call it? Kinetic fluid, acting like that, So again, from what I heard, is that it is upon sovereign nations to accept and implement said sanctions. Okay, so I do not. We are gonna see, right? And the other thing that I usually forget to talk about, right? So I hear, like, once the stock market in Russia crashed because of a statement from Trump, and I was like, what? What is this? So, looky. Right, this just 7 hours ago. Let me show you when I took this screen grab. Right, you can look it up. October 24th, 10 a.m. I covered this for a reason. Even those times that I've showed, right? I'm trying to say, like, yo, all of a sudden, after Charlie Kirk, now they are pivoting. They needed to carry over that momentum to cause chaos in Africa, right? So the Charlie Kirk momentum, they tried to carry it over, right? That chant of protect Christianism, protect Christianity, protect Christian nationalism, and all of this, the same people in the same week, they were spewing this garbage about Nigeria. And who is behind it? The freaking Zionists. Is there a prince over there? No. They're going to use you as pawns to destabilize that whole situation. Israelite against Israelite, so to speak. Non-stop. You can look it up for yourself. Seeing it over and over, over and over, over and over, over and over. Sooner or later, they might have a crusade, You never know what Petey might do. Petey might just come over there, no shirt but a bullet vest and a M16 and a horse, It might just come to Nigeria to save Christianity, I don't know what denomination, but hey, if you're a Christian, you get a pass. Right? These are just jokes, okay? Oh my goodness, okay? Oh my God. Huh? We've been hearing the same things happening all over the place in India. But crickets, right? Crickets. But in Nigeria, since the influence over there is finicky, right? Their people do not have influence over the government, right? That is why there's always a call for, I don't know, decentralized government. Terrible idea. Terrible idea, right? The northerners want to lead themselves. The easterners want to lead themselves. Before you know it, a certain tribe want to lead themselves. Why? Because some individual thought it was a great idea to inject money. So they want something. They're just gonna kill you up straight. They don't like you, right? They have inherited the hatred of their father. So, yeah, that's what we have, right? These are the same rhetoric, even if we lived back then in the Crusades. These were the same propaganda I think the people were sold, to go kill Arabs in the name of God, of the Bible, not just any God, okay? This is how we know that there's some phoniness going on. And it seems that nowadays the Bible needs to conform to Christianity, not the other way around. Why not? Because it wouldn't fit. There will be so much holes, right? There will be so much holes left, right? Because there is no separating between the New Testament and the Old Testament, right? These people keep talking about the Old Testament and the New Testament. They are two different gods, that Jesus was, a cool dude, a surfer, just the vibes. Yeah, okay. Look at that, right? Now, as for you remember the Hellfire UFO encounter? Yeah, some people done the research. And of course, as usual, like I said, these things are phony. There's a firmament above you, there's no space, okay? And while that was a balloon, it was a balloon, okay? So we gotta be really, really suspicious of what these people are doing, because these are all, they are planting seeds, How do you think the Albanians somehow ended up having a prime minister, a AI as a prime minister? Mind control. People were conditioned to accept this stupidity, right? And to be dumb enough, to be blind enough to not recognize the fact that the real prime minister is just like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the scary, omnipotent, whatever, right? Right. I just keep getting content, man. This is rich. Trust me, these followed each other, right? And of course, she is not gonna unstick, she's just like a tick on a ears, on a dog of an ear, and a dog's ear, right? Just won't go away, right? They're important. You need their guidance, right? The von der Lions and whatever, right? Now they are pivoting, right? They wanna talk about Mexico, right? They had the Mexico cartels sending threats and all that. They have operations over there. They don't talk about it, but they do have operations over there. And the Mexican president then said, "Oh, we are not gonna let them do this." You know, she was stern, you know, and all that. But again, are you of Satan or the light? Right? This is a good development. Why is it bad for the end? If you are working in the mining industry, this might be a problem. But if you love nature and utilizing it, taking less from it than possible, then this is a good thing. And I've actually seen it in action. It's incredible. And I saw this other guy who was complaining about that they're actually not fully utilizing the lifespan of the batteries. I don't know what the reason was, but again, they have reasons. They have reasons, especially car batteries. That was his example. That these batteries have a longer lifespan, but yet they're being recycled. I don't know why he was offended with that, but hey, to each their own. Right? But this is some quite impressive stuff, you know. And for any country that is adapting this technology here in Africa, we should have at least tiny plants to begin with to recycle. Yeah, you can watch it for yourself, right? And of course, like I said, most of these people are men pretending to be women and women pretending to be men, right? It is just a whole cross-dressing party, right? Yeah, but remember that whole psyop that they have been planting in people's mind that China has bought up all the lands in America, that will impact you, right? Because after they failed to sell that, they just burned the farms and took them that way, right? Without paying insurance whatsoever. So they might just tell that maybe your farms are supported by China. Too comfortable in Babylon. But again, I'll make a whole video talking about the scattered Israelites. Yeah, Canada was talking tough. You should see the Canadian medias when they were boycotting products from America. They were loud, and look at them. Look at them now. And he thought that was a negotiation, like seriously, negotiation with Trump, right? The master of the deal. Right? Oh my God. But these it's a junction, right? It's a junction. Even India was here. Remember then, right? Even India was here at one point. You know. Now you get to choose. Be a lapdog or just be a eco. What do you want? Well, he felt like it was time that he had to address, and he went to specifics. You know, that's why I had to tag this video here. Oh, this is the will of the people of Poland. So, what is Russia to do? Right? What is Russia to do in this predicament? Right? In this predicament, because indeed it is a predicament. right? It is a predicament, a serious predicament. And there was nobody better to be in that position than Putin right now, you know. But this is just the reality, but the reality that they won't tell you, right? So moving on. So I was watching a couple of videos, and a specific thing started to happen, right? The synagogue of Satan, TikTok, wasn't influential enough. YouTube, on the other hand, they are carrying out some underhanded stuff, right? So this is a new phenomenon I've been observing, and I'm glad some people have been observing it too. The first time I saw it, I thought it was maybe the content, right? Because I'm quite sure it's not my handset. But I'm guessing, and I'm not even guessing at this point, right? Because I didn't confirm it. They do it on purpose. It's not a codec thing, right? It can happen like this, right? While you try to transcode your videos into some other format, loss of information, loss of data after conversion or stuff like that, or compression. The artifacts like these appear, but these are intentionally placed there to cause discomfort of the eyes. So yeah, we're gonna see what they say about it, but I just want to put it out there. If they don't like you, they're gonna make your audience blind. Right? So let's read this together, right? And Trump, right? Trump, these are the people you want, I don't know, these are the people that you want me to side with. Okay, let's read it for yourself. Far-right Israel Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said on Thursday that Israel should reject a normalization deal with Saudi Arabia in exchange for a Palestinian state. Right? If Saudi Arabia tells us that it is normalization in exchange for a Palestinian state, then no, thank you, my friend. Right? My friends. That's questionable, but hey. Smotrich said that at a conference hosted by the whatever that means institute addressing a question in relation with Saudi Arabia. Keep riding your camels in the Saudi desert. We will continue to develop our economy, society, and state with all the great things we know how to do. Right? Regardless of their very existence being in opposition or being in contradiction with the prophecy or prophecies, here we are. So, Saudi Arabia, keep riding your camels. The statement comes as Israel Parliament passed a preliminary reading of a bill to annex the occupied West Bank, and a move that was criticized by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party. Politics, right? But one side you get to live, the other side you get to die. And this is perfect, right? For Smotrich. He done threatened a couple times, right? I done shared videos here. He done told Netanyahu, if you stop the war, I'm gonna collapse the government by just leaving. So the other side is the Likud party. Likud, I don't know, none of my business, right? Ops anyway. The party said the passing of the bill was an attempt to embarrass the government while U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance visited the country, dismissing it as a trolling aimed at damaging our relationship with the U.S. and Israel. Israel's greatest achievement in the campaign in Gaza. Non-repentant, murderers. Yeah, that's what we have. These are the Judeans. Sheesh. And this is just the reality, right? Recently it was revealed, who was that, from Brussels. he was talking about Trump called me and talk about, okay, we can do business with these weapons to Ukraine. Like Trump was the one that initiated he talked about, what is it, July or June or something like that. That's these people are determined to see the world burn, brothers and sisters. Right? Yeah. Alien comet. Not alien spacecraft, no. Alien comet. Right? So this is both wrong and politically correct at the same time. Every comet is an alien comet, right? Unless they come from the supposed comet, I don't know, asteroid belt or something, within the so-called solar system. But again, every comet, if it comes here, it is an alien comet, right? But again, it is a Harvard astrophysicist that said this. Now, if you don't think this is witchcraft, then okay, just wait for comets. Yeah. Do you see this? Who is that? Macron. This is how people feel about you, and when they get their hands on you, and you cannot be the president forever. Same with Netanyahu. You have lost your humanity because you are not vulnerable. You have padding all over. The money to pay for private forces and governments at your back and armies at your whim. But one day that will be stripped away from you, and you'll remember that you're just a man. Even this idiot here, both of them, in fact. Guess what they were talking about at the meeting, right? Because I captured this a long time before the meeting even started. You can see for yourself, 6 p.m. East African time. Long-range weapons, right? Long-range weapons. That is the coalition of the willing. Willing to do what? Get you killed. That's what they are willing to do. Another phenomenon that has not got coverage, just adding more and more to your war crimes and treatment of captives. I'm just documenting here. Brother, another airstrike. A suspected boat, I once made a reference. Do you remember there's a movie called Dread, right? Dread. Judge Dredd. And in that movie, basically, that particular civilization, it reached a point where they assigned a couple of individuals to become jury, judge, and executioner, right? And it's a crazy movie, right? High sci-fi, high concept, but again, it is the future, right? It is the future, and this is what this guy is doing here, right? And even ICE, they are the dread, right? They are the dread officials, right? I hope it's the name of that movie. I hope it is. It is Dread, if I'm not mistaken. But they had this funny helmet, and the helmet had a big red M on it. And they were just running around in motorcycle and just murdering people. And that is what ICE is doing, and this is what the military of the Americas is doing, the military that want to spread freedom, And while you say that egos have to pop up and, I don't know, jet fighters and colorways have to, you just can't say that without any flamboyancy. Look at that, the chosen people, right? They truly believe that God sent them to do this, Kama kawaida. This is their purpose. This is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy pertaining the Israelites. This is a joke. And at this point, if you're a Christian and you're buying to this nonsense here, you are an idiot. And if you go to hell, I will not weep. Believe me, you. Okay? Because you do not want to do unto others what you have them on to do to you, right? You were distant. You were not concerned. You turned a blind eye. It is comfortable, right? It is peaceful. Right now, you get the money, you get the views, and what do I get? Weapons, censorship, the whole nine, just the end of the stick. But that's the short term. That's the short term, It's like eating bubble gum, The taste is always fleeting. The harder the taste is going down, your desire for more flavor is going up, right? That's what makes it terrible. But again, enough with the bubble gum. But hey, look at that. So if you fly your flag in the churches and in your cars, and this is the Star of David, no. Okay, no. This has nothing to do with David nor Michael. I can guarantee you that. Okay? So, anyway, let me not go on for, I hope it's an hour by now. Yeah, it's an hour. Let me put a pin on it right there, and we shall hear from each other when we see and hear from each other. Prince Easy signing out. Love you. Bye.